probably could have predicted the way that this one went in Denver. 130 to 104 in favor of the Denver Nuggets, who were entirely healthy compared to your Dallas Mavericks, who were missing 4 of the players on their roster in this one. Obviously, Luka Doncic being, the guy that you know and is a mainstay. 38 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, a couple assists short of another triple-double as he seems to just be putting up consistently. But this was a loss that you could kind of see coming. Was there anything in this game that caught your eye?
Rebounding. It was just when you don't have Dereck Lively on the floor, this team outside of Luka Doncic right now with the current injuries looks like a JV team. I mean, it's just the best way to put it. I mean, I love all those guys. I know a good amount of them personally. They're great dudes, but we cannot hang
Which is interesting because the actual numbers of this, the Nuggets only won the rebounding battle by 3. However,
what were the offensive rebounds? Because that was where it felt like
offensive rebounds was 15 in favor of 15 for the Mavericks, 9 for the Nuggets. So that's interesting. But however, there's something to be said for the fact that this game was over with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, right? There's a lot of these statistics might kind of.
Oh my gosh! Look what they shot from 3.
Yeah, to give you some more of these numbers, the Nuggets shot 54% from 3-point range, which if you're not a numbers guy, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's above the average. It's above the average.
And so the Nuggets absolutely put it on them. Now this is real concerning. The Mavericks shoot 47% from the free throw line. And this hasn't.
That is bad.
Yeah, this hasn't been consistent, but this is just a bad shooting night. And honestly, we mentioned it as we were going along through the game as we're watching it. You could kind of see this push and pull of the score, and so the Mavericks kind of for 2 quarters, maybe 2.5 quarters, kept it relatively close. And
did.
For a lot of that time, it was like, all right, this is about 10 points away, which in the modern NBA is something that can be traversed fairly easily. And so there'd be times where they kind of narrow the lead to 6 or 4, and it's like, okay, it looks like. And one thing about the Nuggets, and one of the reasons why they are a contender and one of the top teams in this league.
Talk to me.
It's something I saw and I recognized last season, is that they have something within them where they go, oh no, this stops now. Where it's like, now we flip this switch or what have you, and now we score points, or now this thing ends. And they did that multiple times with those little runs where it's like, all right, the Mavs seem to be getting into it, and it's like, we're going to get a stop, we're going to knock down a shot, we're going to get a stop, we're going to knock down a shot, and it's 10 again, or it's 12 again, or it's 14 again, and ultimately it rises all the way till a 26-point win.
And obviously we weren't able to watch this game super intently as
Sure.
we're doing the show, so we're kind of and looking at the box score. I think I remember during one of the breaks you were asking about the points. I said Tim Hardaway has 8. He finished with 8. And that was in the second quarter.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, there's not much you can get, take away from the Mavericks talking about the ways in which they're missing a lot of players. But this is one of the things that's obvious is that, you do not have the level of players that's necessary in this particular instance because Luka Doncic needs help, and particularly he needs people to knock down shots. They remained relatively close in this game because they were knocking down shots and somewhat, not exactly matching shot for shot, but they were matching somewhat the scoring capabilities of the Nuggets, and it just ceased at a point. And I mean, shout out to Dante Exum, who's 5 for 5, but you need more from that. You need Derrick Jones Jr. to hit a 3-pointer, and then Grant Williams. It feels tough because he started so hot that you were like, maybe this is what you'll get consistently, and he is kind of an organizing player for your defense, but offensively, he's not looking like a guy that you can lean on.
Yeah. And for those wondering, who can we lean on? When are we going to get some of those players back? Grant Afseth, who does stuff for the Mavs, Dallas Mavs beat writer, DallasBasketball.com, Sports Illustrated as well, great guy. He put out, he's on the ground, was there in Mile High, and he says Kyrie Irving is not in a walking boot anymore. He's on the bench, not in a walking boot, giving great insight to the guys during the game. Dereck Lively is in a walking boot right now. We don't know how long he'll be in that walking boot, but Kyrie Irving looks like he's trending in the right way, walking around on the sideline, looks pretty healthy. Not in that walking boot, but Dereck Lively is in one. So hopefully we can get those guys back because it is a totally different team when they have them and when they do not have them.
I did want to touch on this rumor that kind of kind of leaked out. I believe it was from The Athletic. It was a writer who covers the Pistons was talking about some of the things, and one of the things that came up was that there's some teams around the league that are very interested in the services of Isaiah Stewart, who's currently on the Pistons is the word I was looking for.
On the trade block.
The teams being involved, the Boston Celtics, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Dallas Mavericks. James L. Edwards III of The Athletic reported that these three contenders have, quote, shown great interest as they look into to fortify their front court rotation. So Isaiah Stewart, an interesting piece, right? He's a dude that kind of defensively a little bit plays bigger than his size. I think he's 6'8".
We'll give him 6'8".
But he obviously plays as a big. He's been shooting a little bit more from three, but not particularly a good 3-point shooter, so he can't stretch. But defensively is what you look for. I know that Nick Angstadt of Locked On Mavs was,
great guy,
connected into his Locked On network, and kind of the report that he got was like offensively not very good, like not great when it comes to pick and roll and handling that. And so offensively, it's not pluses. Defensively is where you're looking to add. And I mean, hey, look, the idea of a defensive addition piques people's interest for the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm not sold on this as an idea. What were your thoughts when you heard this rumor?
It depends how much we were to give up, because I do think he could be a nice kind of enforcer front court piece that the Mavs can need. Because I talked about it earlier. It just feels like we're so weak, and sometimes the stats will prove wrong, but at least by the eye test. But us on the boards, like, it just feels like if Dereck Lively's not in there, that we're gonna give away 10 to 15 offensive rebounds a game. And that's not something you want to see. And I feel like Isaiah Stewart, who might not give you the offensive output or stretch the floor, we got guys that could do that when you fill in a Grant Williams or something like that. So having a guy like that off the bench, I think would do help for the Mavs, because they need any help they can get on the defensive and rebounding side. So
sure, but
I don't know if it's the greatest fit.
Right. It's worth noting that he signed kind of a similar deal to what Josh Green did, right? Like they were in that same draft class. And so he's
making big money.
He's still on his rookie deal. However, he just signed a 4-year, $64 million extension that will kick in next year. And so the actual mechanics of the trade get a little bit dicey.
Had to give up a lot. These expensive contracts.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how the mechanics of that trade work, because you would think something like, okay, they're on a similar contract. Why wouldn't you just trade Stewart for Josh Green?
Would you do that?
If you could do that straight up?
I'm just asking.
Maybe, like, I'm in a maybe range with that, but you couldn't, apparently.
Okay.
And so, like,
there we go.
Right, like the way that this works gets real dicey with the new CBA. That, of course, you have to have some level of law degree and some advanced degrees. And
you really got to be smart to understand that stuff.
The CBAs are tough to, particularly the NBA CBA is tough to navigate. But just from like a fit perspective, the tough part about it is, like, I think that you'd be he profiles as like a back of the rotation piece, but I also don't know how he fits with the pieces that you already have. Plus, and I think Nick was making this mention when he discussed this, is that this is another project, and it feels like you have a few of those projects. And so if you're trading for a piece, and I understand that this sounds like picky, but if you're trading for a piece, I don't know that you want to add another project, particularly with this team that's trying to
take that next step.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if I honestly probably understand this better if it's like in the offseason rather than at the trade deadline.
Okay.
Like, I can understand you trading for like a piece that you don't know that fits great if in the offseason when you're building roster.
Yeah.
During the season, that doesn't make sense to me, right? To trade for a piece that you don't know exactly how well he's going to play, talk less of how he fits with the team. It feels like adding more question marks to a rotation that already has a decent amount of question marks.
7 different question marks.
Yeah.
So you want more veteran big and then established wing.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I understand that we're veering very strongly into beggars can't be choosers territory, but like, yes, maybe, and you need some level of shooting, right? People are talking about the idea that same player, right? Small ball is not going to work. And one of the things that you're looking at is he profiles as kind of like a Maxi Kleber, but also doesn't shoot as well as Maxi Kleber, not yet. And so he's starting to work on it, but like, is this like, hey, we want to trade for a Maxi Kleber on a similar contract? You know, like, how much do you want to do that? Is that appealing when I tell you that?
Well, now you psyched me out of it. I was excited for the enforcer, but now we don't need another project. Like, I agree. The Mavs are trying to make that next step forward. They kind of have a bunch of project pieces.
But, I mean, look, apparently if this reporting is correct, and I have no inclination to say that it's not, the Mavs are sniffing around. And I think one thing that's encouraging is that they're looking at bigs. They're looking at opportunities.
They understand that there's a problem.
Yes. Yeah, they're looking at opportunities to fortify that because they know Dereck Lively comes off the court and it becomes a problem.
A problem. And when he doesn't play at all, it's a big problem. Now, obviously, I don't think Isaiah Stewart would have changed the outcome of this game, but he might have gave it a little bit of tenacity and gave it because we got some guys getting minutes that I don't think would get minutes on a contending team. So definitely some rotational pieces that Nico and that front office are trying to kind of switch around.
And so we'll see. We'll continue to monitor the situation as, we said we're entering the trade season in the NBA when, people start moving around and trying to, discuss and move and shake and trying to make the roster better. One of the things is this team needs to just get healthy. But I'm intrigued by the idea that the Mavs are actively having those conversations, as all teams are always having conversations, but they're actively finding interest in bigs that maybe could be moving around. So